Hey folks, this is a quick tutorial on how to add new chants to FC25, which is what we're going to do now. So firstly, what do we need? We need the FIFA editor tool, an hex editor, I use HXD, and a folder with two subfolders called chunks and chants, where the chant files we want to add should be. In this tutorial, we will add 2 chants for Gladbach, but you can of course add more as we go along. I also strongly recommend creating a Google Docs sheet in which we can save our data. This is especially useful if you want to add a lot of chants. I will explain the individual columns during the video. We will also need a hex to decimal converter and a website where we can look up the IDs of the teams. I use SoFIFA. That's all. And since we already see the ID we need, let's just enter it into our table right away. Now we open the editor tool and search in the Data Explorer for the word chants. The folders we are looking for are in Sound, Chants, New Waves. Depending on the club we're searching for, the files are in the Demo, Full, or DLC folder. In our case, it's the latter. The new wave assets in the folder we need are called Motivational, Motivational High, Motivational Low Morale, Motivational Very High, Positive Team High, and Positive Team Very High. The names refer to the game situations in which the chants are played. So it's best to add the new chants to all of them. For the purpose of this video, I will only demonstrate it for the one named Motivational. If we sort the segment column in descending order, and then add our 2 chants using the Add New Sound button, we can see where the new chants appear in the list. We now add the name of the new wave asset we are editing and the 2 numbers to our sheet. Back in the editor, you will notice that we cannot change the other values in this mode. To do so, we switch to the dataset mode. After that, we switch the current dataset to chunks. What you see here are the chunks that contain the chants. The 2 at the bottom were created when we added our 2 chants. We will now export them. To do this, we open the REST chunk editor under Tools and copy the chunk ID of the one in the middle. This is the one we added first. Now, we search for it in the Explorer and then export it via right-click to our chunk folder. Since this chunk is the one we want to add all our chants to, we name it main. Then we do the same with the second one, and all others if you have more, and name it differently. Next, we open the chunks in the hex editor. In the main chunk, we scroll all the way down and paste the other chunk or chunks there. Important! It is crucial that all the chunks you are inserting and merging here are in the same order as the sounds you added previously in the FIFA editor. To determine where one chant ends and the next begins, we search for the hex value 480000C. Make sure to search in all directions. This will list all the chants in the main chunk, as they always start with this value. For our sheet, we need the offsets of the 0C values at the start of each chant. We enter these in the corresponding hex column. Finally, we scroll to the end of the now larger chunk, click there again, and copy the offset for our sheet. All these hex values now need to be converted to decimal numbers and entered into the table. Now, we save our main chunk in the hex editor and return to the FIFA editor. After that, we import our main chunk to the one from which we exported it. Since the chunk size has now changed, we of course need to adjust it here and enter the number we just noted down. Now we turn our attention to the other data sets. Next, we continue with segments. If you scroll to the highest segment index, you will notice that the editor has already created 2 entries for our charts there. However, we still need to adjust the samples offset, but only for one of them in this case, as a new chunk always starts with 3. This means it is correct for our first chart, but for the second one, we need to enter one of the values from the sheet there. Now we move on to the variations dataset. The editor has also created 2 rows for us here. First, we need to enter numbers for the variation ID that have not been used yet. We then enter these into the corresponding field in our sheet. Next, we turn our attention to the stream chunk index. As you can see, all the old entries have a 1. This refers to the first chunk in the chunks dataset, where all the charts are stored. Since a new chunk has been created for each of our new charts, the numbers there are 3 and 5, as the chunks are numbered with odd numbers. However, since we want to place all our charts in the second chunk, we change the 5 to a 3. Finally, the last data set we need to edit, selection. However, this is also the one with the most work, as the editor does not create any entries for us here. Since we are adding only 2 charts in this tutorial, I will do it directly in the editor. However, if you're adding many, I highly recommend exporting this dataset, making the entries in an external program, preferably in Google Docs as well, and then importing it back. When doing so, make sure that your new entries are properly aligned in the table, otherwise, you will receive an error message during import. So, what do we need to enter here? For each chart we create 4 new rows which are the same except for the last column. First, the corresponding index number, then the variation ID, and finally the team ID. All of this information can be found in our sheet by this point. For each chant, we need to make an entry in the last column with 1, 2, 4, and 8. In our case, this table will therefore have 8 new entries. Don't forget to save now, because we're actually done. However, I'll quickly show you how to deactivate existing chants. To do this, simply filter the Team ID column by your team's ID and change the ID of the original entries to 0. These can be easily identified by the variation ID. Now, save again. And that's it. Now, if we switch back to the variations mode, we can see that our entries are now complete. And remember, you also need to do this with the new wave assets mentioned at the beginning so that the chants are played in all possible match situations. Once you're done, the mod just needs to be exported so you can use it in the mod manager. That's it for this little tutorial. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.